Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session, Navigating Your Career in a Virtual World. My name is Nicole Green. I serve as the Alumni Engagement Manager for Graziadio. It's such a pleasure to have you all here today joining us for our final session of Navigating Your Career in a Virtual World. Today, we're going to build connections through high-speed networking, and we're so excited that you are joining us. The session is built for you, whether you're pursuing a new career or you're in a new industry, maybe you started a job or changed jobs, looking for new opportunities, or just wanting to grow your network. This session is specifically for you. So we're excited to have you here, and we hope you connect with your Graziadio community throughout this time. The session is being recorded and event photography will be taking place. If you are not comfortable being on camera, feel free to turn your camera off. And the session will be shared out in communications when it becomes available, usually on our YouTube channel. So be looking for that in communications. We encourage you to connect with Graziadio on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or even LinkedIn. We have a optional networking form, and it's a great way for you to connect with folks on LinkedIn. So that's going to be dropped in the chat by one of my colleagues in our alumni engagement team. On that link, I encourage you to check that out, fill out your information, and if you're wanting to connect on LinkedIn, it's a great way for you all to connect even after today's event. I now want to turn it over to Dean Ledbetter, who is the Dean of Student and Alumni Affairs. She's also the Director for the Center for Women in Leadership. She's also faculty for Organizational Theory and Management. Please welcome Dean Bernice Ledbetter that will talk us through rankings.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nicole, so much. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Welcome. Thank you for investing in yourself and in your career. So I want to tell you a little bit about a really exciting announcement and invite your participation. So I am so pleased to share with you, this is just in. We are proud to share that the Graziadio Business School has been recognized by Fortune, ranking at number 48 as one of the best full-time traditional MBA programs in the nation. That puts us in the top 50. And we're so thrilled and so grateful for this opportunity to share this news with you. And this came about because of participation. So I would like to take a moment to share some information about how you can also participate in our current Graziadio School rankings, because rankings provide students and alumni a unique advantage to be introduced to highly sought after opportunities. So let me share with you some additional rankings. There's actually several that go on almost simultaneously, so there's still time to get involved. So Forbes is conducting rankings on Best Business School, and they use a survey to assess the 5-year ROI of receiving a Graziadio full-time MBA. Eligible candidates that can participate in this survey are individuals who graduated from August 2015 to June 2016. And to make it into this year's survey, check your inbox, please, for the survey link that was emailed to you directly from Forbes. If you have any questions, you can reach out to our marketing department at pgbs.marketing@pepperdine.edu. And their email will also be put in the chat box. But wait, there's more. Poets and Quants is also conducting a ranking survey, and that is for our online MBA program. Eligible candidates are individuals who graduated from August 2020 to April 2021, just recently, from the online MBA program. And so to make it into this year's survey, check your inbox also for a survey link emailed directly to you from Poets and Quants. And again, if you have questions, you can reach out to our marketing department. Rankings really are important because they tell the story in a certain way of the wonderful experience of PGBS. It's really about our impact. And so when you participate in rankings, you help us tell the story of the impact that our degree programs make. So thank you so much for those who have participated, and we look forward to sharing with you more opportunities in the future to help strengthen PGBS and our academic programs through the ranking process. Thank you so much. I'll hand it back to Nicole.
Thank you, Dean Ledbetter. Thank you for sharing that information about rankings. And again, that information was dropped in the chat, so we encourage you to utilize that information there. All right, today's session, I will introduce the speakers shortly. We have a great alumni panel that will share their career testimonials. Then there will be an opportunity for a Q&A with the panelists. And then as networking, mixing will go, we will have 3 rounds of breakout rooms for you to connect with the panelists, hear their stories a little bit more in depth. And then we will also allow you to connect with one another in the breakout room. So we encourage you to turn your cameras on at that time, maybe unmute yourself, ask some questions, and really get the most out of your breakout room time together. Then we will return back after the 3 rounds of breakout rooms, and I will share some career and professional development resources that are available through our school. And then we'll do an event survey and we'll close it out for this afternoon. All right, so our panel. Today you'll hear from 3 alumni panelists as they share their personal career journey, their current role, and how Graziadio played a role in their experiences. There will be time for Q&A with the panelists, and again, 3 rounds of networking in breakout rooms for you to connect with them and each other. So we encourage you to use the chat for any questions as you're hearing their career testimonies. All right, Osei Jumpy is a highly motivated individual with a strong work ethic and team spirit, with more than 7 years of talent acquisition and recruitment management experience. His expertise lies in managing the full life cycle of recruiting and recruiting management, situational leadership, leading a team of technical administrative recruiters, online job searching, social network recruiting, and building relationships with hiring managers. Osei currently serves as a recruiting specialist at Facebook, and we are excited to hear from him today. Joining Osei is Michaela Mejia, who is dedicated to connecting people with their passions. From recruitment to talent management to strategic planning, Michaela is an HR professional. And she says she is a lead recruiter for the best team in retail and enjoys fulfilling roles for talented leaders in Oregon, Washington, Alaska, and California. Michaela currently serves as the lead recruiter and is celebrating 10 years at Target. Welcome, Michaela. Joining Osei, Michaela is also Courtney. Courtney Simmons has over 12 years of leadership experience at AT&T. She joined AT&T as a participant in their flagship leadership development program, where she held various positions throughout her tenure in mass advertising, marketing and communication, consumer mobility, global business, networking services, human resources, and interactive departments, which focused on marketing, communications, advertising, and people management. Courtney's adaptable background spans across multiple industries, including telecommunications, entertainment, healthcare, sports, and the nonprofit sector. Wow, do we have a great panel or what of alumni? Excited to hear from them all. I will now turn it over to Osei, who will start us off with his speaking.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time out of your lunch hour to come and learn some information in regards to networking, hiring tips, etc. I'll give you a little bit of how I found my way over to the Graziadio School and Pepperdine. When I first came to Los Angeles, I actually moved down from up north. I went to school at UC Berkeley, and I had moved down in about 2003, 2004 timeframe. And if anyone remembers that, it was a very difficult time to find work, right? Especially just being, kind of like a recent graduate with not a lot of experience in some of the fields that I was interested in. In fact, I didn't even know what I was interested in at the time. I was a political science major, and so it was either become a lawyer or work for a campaign or something of that nature. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do either one. So I started going to different staffing companies and turning in my resume for whatever kind of administrative roles I could get, just to make some money while I tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I think at one point in time I was even thinking real estate. And I went into a staffing company in the South Bay called Aerotech. And I had put my resume in, and their directors of business operations called me and said, instead of us finding you a job, would you like to work here? Which I never even thought about, right? So I'm completely an accidental recruiter, if you want to call it that. Yeah, so I started doing that in about 2004, and I eventually ended up doing some recruiting management up until about 2009. If anyone, is of my, was around in 2009, you remember that it was also a very bad year for the economy. And even though I wasn't furloughed from my position, our company had laid off a significant portion of our staff just because nobody was hiring in California. I think at that time, the unemployment rate was about 12%. And that's when I realized that I needed to do something else to make sure that I was able to bolster my experience, my resume, and hopefully be able to get me in a position where I could be basically somewhat shielded from that, or at least more marketable, so I could compete in the job force. And so that's when I started taking a look at different schools for an MBA program. USC, Anderson, of course, Pepperdine, and other handful in the Los Angeles area. The thing I really liked about Pepperdine was the small class sizes. I wanted to actually learn. I didn't want it to just go to a school and get a piece of paper from, a college and not know anything. I wanted to be able to engage. I wanted to be able to network within my professors, within my teachers, et cetera. And so Pepperdine gave me that best opportunity. So that's what I decided to go with. And I tell you, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made. And going to Pepperdine, initially what I wanted to do was, find a way to be able to get into, say, like a chief marketing officer type role or something like that within a staffing company. And as I started going through some of the different courses, if anyone's taken Professor Chun for information systems technology, that was kind of the class that got me to open my eyes to startups and entrepreneurship. I found that I was very interested in, kind of like a startup environment, new companies, new ideas, new technologies, et cetera. And so for me, that was very important because I realized whatever it is that I end up doing, it has to be in that kind of realm. And so after I graduated in 2015, I started to take a look at not working for agencies anymore, but actually internally in startups, doing recruiting management, team building, et cetera. The experience that I had and my MBA and kind of like my background in startups actually helped me land a position with a company called Faraday Future, which is a electric vehicle company out in the South Bay. And their goal was to be able to rival the likes of Tesla and everyone else, knowing that eventually we would kind of get off of gas cars as something that we use on a day-to-day basis. They want to get ahead of the curve. And that was amazing to me. I wanted to be a part of something that was new, part of something that was innovative. And my MBA was able to allow me to do that. I ended up working with Faraday for about 3 years or so, and completely changed my life. I was able to work in a different capacity than I ever have before. Directly with the CFOs, directly with CTOs. It was like I actually kind of found home. It was one of the best experiences that I've ever had. From there, I was started getting recruited to now go to other roles and other places. So my career started to skyrocket a little bit. And then eventually, I was contacted by some internal recruiters at Facebook who had let me know that they had some opportunities with their role. Now, remember back, like I was saying before, I had a very strong interest in startups, new technologies, et cetera. So at first I actually told them no. I thought I was going to be recruiting just for, the regular Facebook newsfeed, which is, it's its own thing, revolving door. There's not a lot of innovation there. It's kind of, just been done. And what they let me know was that the position was actually for the AR/VR division. So if anyone has ever seen like an Oculus or a Portal, or any other kind of Facebook consumer product, that's kind of the side of the house that I was going to be recruiting for, which is exactly what I wanted out of my next opportunity, right? Like something where we're making something that's cutting edge, and I can kind of find candidates who would be excited to be able to work on products like that. So ended up joining the company almost 3 years now, to be 3 years in January. And it's been going great. I whenever Pepperdine contacts me to try to help with alumni or do speaking engagements, I am always there because my experience at the school has really helped me to reach a certain level and be able to work on certain things that I enjoy. And so that's my story. That's who I am. Of course, in what I do, there's a lot of networking. There's a lot of hiring tips, et cetera, that I have to that I've basically been exposed to, and also want to be able to share. So that's why I decided to do this, because I know it is, going back to that young man who just graduated from college, and also graduated from Graziadio, looking for something different. I know what it's like to kind of say, how do I take my experience and make something out of that? And so I want to be able to share any tips that I've been able to use with the group. So hopefully we can get everybody where they want to be.
Thank you, Jose. That's awesome.
So sorry.
Yeah, I just want to also mention that more of his testimony, more of the questions that you may have can be dropped in the chat, but we'll also have breakout rooms where you can dive into questions more intimately with him. Thank you. Let's take a moment and hear from Michaela.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm excited to chat with some of you in the side chats as well. A little bit about me. I'm currently a lead recruiter for Target, responsible for the Western region, which, as she mentioned, includes Washington, Alaska, Oregon, as well as California. I primarily work with the group and regional leadership team, including group vice presidents, directors, to create not only talent planning strategies, but also recruitment strategies, both in the campus as well as professional space. I've also had the opportunity to be on the REACH committee, which is something I'm really passionate around DEI initiatives and ensuring that we're creating that really great space for inclusion within Target, specifically within talent acquisition. In terms of my career journey, to get to this point, I'd say definitely Graziadio was really instrumental in making my switch from operations to more of a headquarters recruiting role at Target. So I'll kind of walk through that piece of it. I started with Target pretty straightforwardly as an intern out of my undergrad. I did an internship this summer between my junior and senior year, and that kind of led to a full-time role as an executive team leader within stores. So that was definitely focused on operations management. I was leading teams of up to 100 team members at a given time because we have super high volume locations within the Los Angeles market. Throughout my 6 years in stores, I got to see a lot of different aspects, from customer service to sales floor management, logistics, and finally, ultimately led in my position as human resources manager at the downtown Los Angeles location. And through that role, that's when I really discovered, like, this is it. This is what I'm excited about, just really focusing on the people side of the business, connecting people with their passions, and really supporting their journeys and whatever that had, as well as obviously the more technical and data-driven pieces of the business. So that's kind of what led me to want to pursue further education in that space. As I was looking at programs around masters in human resources, Pepperdine was honestly the only choice for me. And this is kind of a fun fact, but my husband actually went to undergrad at Pepperdine and was Willie the Wave. So I think it's both my favorite and least favorite fun fact about him. But as I was thinking about where I wanted to go in person, the reputation, as well as in-person classes, and that pull from my husband, who's obviously the biggest Pepperdine fan, made it an easy choice for me. Throughout my time at Pepperdine, I got the opportunity to really deep dive into that HR space and gain interest through kind of a marriage of what I was learning in class. I was able to apply those principles to some of what I was doing in stores as an HR manager. And that allowed me to gain captainships for team development, talent development, as well as campus recruitment. And that led to my kind of lead recruiter role. That was kind of midway through my Pepperdine journey. So during that first year within my senior recruiter role, again, like using the networking space, I actually was really inspired by some of the speakers who came in, and they talked about, specifically, I remember meetings and how to do that differently. I was able to apply that to my work, and through that was able to get on a lot of really cool committees and projects. So from there, that's kind of what led me to this point in my journey. I'm really thankful to Graziadio overall. And I think from my perspective, like why I chose to do it, a lot of people are looking for different places to go or career shifts. For me, it was about applying what I learned in school to get ahead in the company that I'm in. So I'm really excited to talk about that and field any questions that anyone has within that as well.
So good, Michaela. Great insight. Thank you. Can't wait to hear. I'm trying to decide what breakout room I want to go into. They're both so great. Thank you. I'm going to pass it to Courtney now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here to listen. I'm happy to be here to share like the other panelists. So my name is Courtney Simmons, and I currently work at AT&T. I have actually worked at AT&T my whole pretty much career other than internships. So it's so far been a lifelong journey for me at AT&T, and it's been a great company and a great career journey that I'm happy to share with all of you. So my experience with AT&T and Graziadio came a little bit later into my career with AT&T. I actually went through the fully employed program. So I had been at AT&T for a few years already. I actually went to undergrad at USC in Southern California, and then I went straight through after undergrad and received my master's in communication. From there, I was then hired into AT&T through their flagship leadership development program. And so had been at AT&T for several years, gone through several positions, and then decided that it was the time for me to explore an MBA. So I'll get a little bit more into that, but I'll kind of share the beginning of my journey with AT&T first. So as I shared, I was hired into their flagship leadership development program, and they take individuals that have graduated recently from a master's program, and then they put you through different rotations so that you can understand many pieces of the business. So I started out managing in a call center, and it was a great experience. I was managing reps, and it was my first experience kind of managing large teams. I had a group of 20 individuals, and we were managing high-speed data services for all of California. So kind of coming out of college and that being my first opportunity, it was great for me to be able to have that leadership experience and get to lead and really see the core fundamentals of the company. And then from there, I went on to work in marketing for AT&T Uverse. And back then, that was when Uverse was brand new. The fact that AT&T was getting into the TV space was unheard of. It was something that was experimental. We didn't know how we were doing it. We were trying to figure it out. And so I was there when we reached our first 100,000 subscribers, and it was a huge thing. So kind of that was really exciting to be part of the introduction to AT&T being in entertainment, and then fast forwarding to kind of where we are now as a company. From there, I worked and managed a group of technicians out in the field. So again, with the program, the idea being that we're really learning the core fundamentals of our business. After all, we are at heart a phone company. So it was great. I managed my crew of techs. It's probably one of the best positions, the most rewarding that I've had in managing technicians, installing phone service, going out with them to see what they do, helping to troubleshoot. And from there, I've had a number of different jobs that I'm happy to elaborate on in the breakout session. But from marketing to advertising, worked at Yellow Pages when AT&T owned Yellow Pages. So there's been a lot of, I've been a chief of staff. So it's been a long journey. And I think that's one of the things that I love about AT&T is that it's given me the opportunity to explore different career opportunities. And that's probably the reason why I've stayed for so long. When I had gotten to a certain point in marketing, I decided, and I really loved marketing. That's what I went to school for, what I wanted to do. And I thought that being a communication major and having a master's in communication, that I felt very comfortable there, but I wanted to be stronger in numbers and being able to report, show the return on investment of our marketing campaigns. And so that's why I decided I'm going to explore getting an MBA, and Graziadio seemed like a great opportunity. They had the fully employed MBA program, so I could do that and go, continue my great career with AT&T and go to school at the same time. So from there, that's actually what led to me pivoting to HR. And so now I've been in HR for a number of years and held a number of different positions in HR. But I do really credit Graziadio for helping me to discover, to kind of take risks and new challenges and switch to an area of human resources where I didn't imagine that I would end up taking my career, because I did like focusing on people development and giving back in that way to the company.
Awesome. Thank you, Courtney. That was great. I love what you finished with, taking risks. That's a great concept and idea. I can see that some questions have come through in the chat, which is great. So is it Corin Hall? I'll read your question to the panelists, and then I will spotlight them for everyone to kind of see. And then we'll do this for about maybe 10 minutes and then move into some more intimate breakout rooms with the panelists. But Corin says, I would love to know how each of the panelists, your biggest challenge or hurdle you faced going through the Graziadio program.
I'll start. For me, the biggest hurdle was really just the time. Because I did the fully employed, and I remember at one point I actually couldn't start school when I wanted to because I was division director for Robert Half, and if anyone knows or has ever worked there, I'm not sure if anyone has, but sometimes your day starts at 6:30 and it ends at 6:30 or 7. And, obviously if the classes start at 6, you're not able to make it from Westwood to the West LA campus in time, or, anywhere else for that matter in time, because, it's overtime. So that was probably the most difficult thing. I actually had to move jobs from there in order to be able to attend or go to the school. So I think that the just the time, also the time commitment, sometimes classes on Saturdays, that was probably the biggest hurdle for me.
Yeah, I can go next. I definitely agree that time and balance, I would say. Similarly, my role in stores was not the typical Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So fitting it in was tough. And I think also balancing the mental stress of homework as well as work in general. So really having that support system was super helpful along my journey.
And I will echo that. For me, not only work and school, but also I had, I was still early in my marriage. So I think even that and balancing out that now all of my time was going to work and then school. And so just making the time to still create, develop my friendships, the relationship with my husband, and making sure that I wasn't isolating everyone in my journey. And I agree, having that strong support system that understood what I was going through during the time period.
Great, thank you. A question from Sophia Biggs. She says, hi everyone, thank you for taking time to speak to us today. She is a current student at Graziadio. Her question is, what platform do you primarily utilize for recruiting?
For me, I primarily use, to a large degree, LinkedIn. It's a lot of times people say what other resources are there out there? It's like there are other resources, but that's kind of the big one. I kind of refer to it as your online resume. Sometimes when people have their LinkedIn, and we can get into this in some of the break room stuff, but they'll just have their job title and then that's it. I've talked to people who are like, I want to stay off the radar. I don't want a LinkedIn. I don't like that social media stuff, but it's completely different, right? It's not people sharing cat videos, even though sometimes it is, but for the most part, it is literally how people like me find you, right? Like it's what it is. It's probably my number one tool.
Yeah, I agree. LinkedIn's definitely number one, and it's so important for you to build your personal brand within that space for people to get a hold of you. For other roles, there are other platforms. So for more of our store leadership, I would say Indeed is another big one that we use, but definitely LinkedIn is the biggest.
And I agree. I'm not directly in a recruiting role currently at AT&T, but I do know that my colleagues look at that, and I agree. Kind of building your brand on LinkedIn is very important. That's one of the things that we look at is how you present yourself, what's on your LinkedIn, what kind of posts even that you're posting. So I do know that we take a really deep dive into what's on people's profiles.
Got it. LinkedIn and Indeed. Good to know. Great question. Another question comes from Kathy Morris. She says, for those who have come to Graziadio for career pivot, what guidance can the panel give on refining our resumes to pivot, blending our current career plus Graziadio experience?
I guess we'll continue with this wheel. Basically, what I would say is, so when recruiters are looking for people or when folks want to figure out how to transition, and this is going to be part of my breakout, you want to kind of start with the end in mind, meaning what's the role that you're going for and what are the skills that are there. And then you want to try to figure out how you can relate your current skills plus your education to be able to transition into that other type of role or other industry. Like what I used to always tell people was, at the end of the day, what companies are looking for are people who can come in and learn the job and do it effectively. So some of the skills, if they're not hard skills like an actual programming language or anything like that, you should be able to find a way, right? If you are looking for account management, but you've been working at a company as an office manager, okay, at any point in time, were you ever doing any kind of account management or sales, right? Like, did you ever have to step in and take that kind of a reign if it was a smaller business, et cetera? And if not, try to get that skill. So that way you can put that onto your profile. So that way when people are searching it, they can say, oh, this person seems to have done some account management, right? Then you have a higher percentage chance of getting contacted. So a lot of times when you're trying to transition, it also kind of depends on what you're able to, what you want to transition to and what skills you have or are able to learn at your current opportunity that you're going to be able to showcase to get a recruiter interested.
Yes, I 100% agree. I would say also, if you have a specific company in mind, looking through their specific job descriptions and kind of mirroring the language that's in that description so it reflects. So it's an easy mental cue to say like, hey, this is exactly what we're looking for because it's in the job description, and reflecting, even if it's not a congruent experience, how that reflects the job skills that you would need for that role. I think those things are super important.
And I agree with the other panelists. I think for me, the only thing I would share is kind of creating your story and what's that story about yourself. I know for me personally, having various different jobs at AT&T, sometimes it can seem fragmented because I've moved so much. And if you don't understand the culture of AT&T, at a different company, they may say, well, why did you move? And why have you had 10 jobs? But my story that I've tried to craft is that, of course, it was part of the leadership development company, learning the foundation of the company. And then in each job, as Osei mentioned, that I've been able to adapt quickly, learn the job, become a leader and a strategic thinker. So aligning whatever the key goals are for the company or the position that you're looking for, and then make that part of the story to kind of build that cohesiveness.
Awesome. And we'll do this last question, and then we'll move into some breakout rooms and I'll explain those details, but this has been great. Renee asks, do you use LinkedIn for job postings and then sift through the applications? Or do you use keywords to search and find candidates directly?
So at Facebook, we're big on passive candidates. So I actually search keywords and find people directly. Now we do have postings obviously on LinkedIn. We have teams that kind of go through that information. Because it's for my job is to go out and recruit, not necessarily transact. For me personally, I do a lot of keyword searching, but people do apply, and obviously that is a way for them to be able to get in. I'll get into some more information within the breakout rooms, but there's also the opportunity to, and this is why LinkedIn is so important. If you can find who that hiring manager is specifically, then you can actually send them your information directly sometimes if they connect with you. At the same time, I always encourage my managers to put their job posting on their profiles as well, like actually post it so that people who are in their network can share it and they can get some passive candidates that way. But in terms of the way that I personally use it, it's mainly for a passive candidate search, which is basically people who are already working, and I'm just kind of presenting them, or not even already working, but the ones who aren't reaching out to us. And then I'm presenting them with the opportunity.
I'd say for us, it would depend on the role. There are roles that we focus exclusively on, like our Workday, which is our application portal. But I'd say the majority would be actively reaching out on LinkedIn for sure. I'd say recommendation, if you're looking to get in, definitely like finding that hiring manager on LinkedIn is super important. Agree with that. I would also say combing your network for people you know within that organization, and kind of getting an introduction that way is also helpful because we do a lot of referral-based networking as well.
And I agree, AT&T, we are so big, there's so many different types of positions. So it really depends on the position that we're recruiting for. Some of the recruiters are going out actively recruiting college campuses, different events, things of that nature. So I would echo exactly what the other panelists said. It really varies with the position, but a lot of times from my experience and the positions I've been in, talent development, those areas, we're going out and then looking at LinkedIn after we have identified candidates.
Great, thank you.